Oh, number 13, completing the square. I like this because most people forget how to complete the square. And are you one of them?
Yeah.
All right, let's do this one. They give us a quadratic. We've got x squared plus 10x minus 8 equals x minus h squared minus 33. We want to really take note of one number in particular and a couple manipulations of it. So that 10x there, if we take 10 and divide it by 2, that gives me that, right?
Yeah.
And then if we square that, that gives me 25.
Okay.
So then if we rewrite this equation as x squared plus 10x and then bring this number here down, we're just going to add 25. Kind of just out of the blue, honestly. Just because it makes things easy. Because what we end up with here is a perfect square trinomial.
Okay.
And this is going to end up being equal to x plus, here, I'm going to write it in blue so you can kind of see where the numbers go. We can rewrite it like that. Can you still see? Perfect.
Yeah, I can.
So the only reason that we're adding this 25 here is it's kind of arbitrary, but it makes a perfect square trinomial and then it turns into this.
Okay.
All right. And if you just take a quick glance at the answer choices, that's about all we need to know about this question to answer it. Yeah?
Okay. Yeah.
But since you told me you forgot how to complete the square, we're gonna jump in here and complete the question. But again, I want you to take away this kind of compartmentalization of the question and this very point A to point B of getting from, start of the question to the answer without all the time having to go through every bit of work to actually answer like the mathematical question that they asked. You can waste a lot of time doing math that you don't really have to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Especially on a multiple choice question. So SAT is one of the hardest multiple choice questions that you'll take. So I really want you to take these away. The question that they're asking, like the math question they're answering, has an answer usually that requires a bunch of work, right? But they're not asking it. But they're not asking us the math question. They're asking me to pick A, B, C, or D. One of them is correct. So most of the time, I would argue that we don't have to do all of the math work to answer the question. So anyways, jumping back into here to complete the square. So that's kind of where these numbers come from. Does this whole approach make sense so far? I teach it a little different than some people.
Yeah, it does.
So number 13, if I was completing the square, this is exactly what my work would look like. You take the middle number, divide it by 2, and then you square it. Add that square to the end of this part of the trinomial.
Okay.
And then you end up with a perfect square trinomial. Now, how do we deal with this minus 8 just hanging out here at the end? Well, we just kind of carry it down. Because remember, this is equal to 0, right?
Yeah.
So minus 8 comes down, and we just arbitrarily added 25 over here, right? So I have two options. It's no longer equal to 0 if I just add 25 to the left-hand side. I would either have to add 25 to the right-hand side, in which case we're good, or what we're actually going to do is come over here and we're going to subtract it right back off so that we can remain equal to 0 on the right-hand side. See how we just added it and then subtracted it right back off? So mathematically, we've changed nothing. All we've really done is kind of pepper something in there so it looks nice and it breaks into my perfect square trinomial, but we just subtracted it back off. Plus 25 minus 25 equals 0. So mathematically, we've changed nothing.
Okay.
So then we can clean this up a little bit. these are now like terms. And that's how you complete the square. That's how I complete the square.
Okay.
So I think that's a pretty simple approach. I know some people like to move the 8 to the right hand side, and then there's a bit of like a guess and check with what I've seen some people teach, and I don't know. I've been doing this a long time, and this works for me. So if this method works for you, I would encourage you to practice that one. Completing the square is something that comes up in SAT stuff. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for me. I hope you enjoyed this video. In the meantime, I want to recommend that everybody take the summer to prep for SAT. It is a test that you are gonna have to take anyways if you're planning on going to college. And it's also a great cumulative review for all the math that you've had this far. That's math 1, 2, 3 if you're here in the Carolinas, or however your school district does it. SAT typically is a review of the entirety of high school algebra math. This is a great text. I've been recommending this since about 2017. What I recommend to students is that you set a timer. Don't use a calculator if they tell you it's calculator inactive. You will get as much out of this test as you put into it. These are great, and I think they're a fantastic resource. So you can expect to see plenty more content on SAT prep on this channel, and if that's something you're into, I'd encourage you to hit the subscribe button here, and there will be another video here that I'll link. In the meantime, I will see you guys in the next one. Later.